As you will be aware, recently the war in Syria has gone off the front pages since Michael Gove and David Cameron couldn't force through the murder of tens of thousands of innocent people in a Commons vote calling for a deadly no-fly zone in Syria a few months ago. "You're a disgrace," Michael Gove shouted at Conservative MPs who didn't back a full-on slaughter of innocent people. Lovely man Gove is. However, recently Syria has crept more and more back into the news, and today the Syrian peace talks start in Switzerland. I have to admit that I am becoming increasingly confused with the situation over in Syria for the following reasons. UN Weapons Inspector. Syria chemical weapons were fired from rebel-held territories. The head of the UN weapons inspectors said that the American case for Syrian government firing chemical weapons was weak because the rockets can only go 2 miles, but government-held territory is much further away. So those pesky conspiracy theorists have been saying since the very day the chemical weapons were used in Syria that it was the rebels that used them and not the Syrian regime. They seem to be correct again. Michael Gove, go fuck yourself. You arrogant, ill-informed idiot. Now, unless you were living under a stone somewhere, you could not have failed to hear that the Syrian rebels are in fact Al-Qaeda. The same Al-Qaeda that is now being said the US must go back into Iraq to attack again. Back to Syria. As we know, John McCain has supported Al-Qaeda by visiting them at least a couple of times, I think, arming them, funding and training. This is the same Al-Qaeda that we are told attacked America on 9/11, believe it or not. Doesn't that make any of the 9/11 families outraged? John Kerry has also met with Al-Qaeda. Again, outrage anyone? However, look at this headline. US secretly back rebels to fight Al-Qaeda in Syria. Sources, that are never confirmed, could just be completely made up. Who knows? Sources tell the Telegraph that America is backing friendly rebels with millions in cash and non-lethal aid to take on extremists in Syria. You see, this is where the confusion comes in for me. From what I can tell, the situation goes like this. The CIA created Al-Qaeda in 1979 to fight the Russians in Afghanistan. The same Al-Qaeda attacked the US on 9/11, we are told. The same Al-Qaeda attacked London on 7/7, we are told. But the US funded the same Al-Qaeda in Libya to overthrow Gaddafi. It would now appear that it was in fact Al-Qaeda that fired the chemical weapons into Syria and not the Assad regime. The US and the UK then tried openly to fund, arm and train Al-Qaeda rebels in Syria, but the people said no, much to the absolute disgust of Michael Gove, who wanted a no-fly zone in Syria, like the one in Libya, that some reports say killed tens of thousands of innocent people. And now we have a situation that we're hearing there are good rebels, so that's good Al-Qaeda, which we might support and fund and train, leaving the bad rebels, that are bad Al-Qaeda, to fend for themselves against the bad man, Assad. The whole situation is contrived by the West. They know exactly what they're doing, and I will say it again, they can only get away with it because generally we are asleep. Look, the military-industrial complex needs war. It needs war to use the products it's made, to build more, to boost its profits, to make the shareholders more money. Pure and simple. Nothing will come of these peace talks, and once they've finished, the war drums will beat again before too long, and I'm sure the bad man, Assad, will be blamed for something else done by the rebels before we have another vote in the Commons. And you never know, Michael Gove might just get his no-fly zone and tens of thousands dead.